Something very important is just about to happen to the stock market. In fact, there is an exact date in November. What am I talking about? Of course, the US presidential elections. That's right. If Trump wins again, something's going to happen to the stock market. But if Biden wins, something else is going to happen to the stock market. And I just hope that you're going to be ready. So let's find out what's going to happen. Okay, so let's talk about something that's coming up in November. It's going to be coming up very, very fast, which is, of course, the November US elections, right? This is every 4 years, and you know what? This is very important from a trading point of view, because coming up to the elections, there's going to be, is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be Biden? Who is going to be winning this? This is very important. And so what's going to happen is, they're going to be winning, and then the other person responds. So what do you think is going to happen to the market? Let's say, generally, if Trump is going to win, for example, it's going to go up, right? If Biden wins, it's going to go down. I'll come on to that in a moment. So as the news comes out, in the polls, Trump is winning. Well, then probably the stock market's going to go up a little bit. Okay, so Biden's winning. Well, the stock market's going to go down a little bit. So what do you think is going to happen as we lead up to the November elections? My guess is what's going to happen is the same as always happens, which is it's going to be a trader's delight. It's going to be amazing as you have these whipsaws up and down and volatility. Now, most people, when they see something like this, of course, when you see that, that kind of volatility, you go, well, why would I be investing in this? Because, of course, it's not going up. Clearly, there's no trend. Okay, there's no continuation in one particular direction. But for a trader, this is absolutely fantastic. And for our VCA strategy, well, this is a classic buffalo, so our buffalo strategy will be great. But for our VCA, it's going to be an absolute dream for a trader who's just kind of tipping, trying to get in here, out here. So it's kind of swing trading, which is going to happen a lot. Even if this happens going slightly up or slightly down, you can still get those big swing moves. So that's pre-election. Now, what's going to happen in the election? Well, I don't know, because I don't have a crystal ball who's actually going to win. I mean, who do you think is going to win? I mean, right down below, who do you think is going to win? Do you think it's going to be Trump, who's the incumbent? And, the media have been attacking him from the day that he came into office, right? They've been trying to get rid of him the day that he came into office. Or is it going to be the Democrat? Is it going to be Biden? I have a view on this. I don't know whether I should tell you this, but generally, I've called the last three, so I should be okay. I think it's going to be, I'm not saying I'm for or against, but I think it's going to be Trump. Everyone's like, whoa, we got to get rid of the guy. I think it's going to be Trump. It's going to be Trump, but we'll see. So if Trump does win, what's going to happen to the market? The market is going to go up, okay? Then it is going to have a pullback. And the reason is my third point, which I'm going to come to in a moment, which is where we are generally. If we have a helicopter view and we look down, generally speaking, we are in trouble when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the markets, etc. But I'll come on to that. That's point number 3. So if Biden wins, what's going to happen? Well, the opposite's going to happen. He's a Democrat, so therefore that's not great for the markets generally, because he's going to be pumping money into things even more than Trump is, which is interesting because, of course, as a Republican, Trump shouldn't be pumping as much money into things as he is currently, but he has to because of COVID. So he's kind of acting a little bit like a Democrat at the moment. But if Biden wins, what's going to happen to the markets? The markets are going to go down, and of course, yes, they could recover. Now, notice what I just said. They could recover, because it could be the start of a recession. Well, we know we're in a recession anyway, but I'm talking about a downward bear market for the stock market. And why is that? Well, that's my point number 3. Come on, look, just logically, we know that we're in massive debt. We know that because we've been printing money since 2008. Then we kind of stopped, and in the UK we had a lot of austerity, and it looks like, we kind of, our coffers were filling up, etc. Then COVID hit. What happened? The printing presses came on again. If you look outside right now, if you look at the businesses, we know that in the last few weeks there have been announcements, big businesses. Marks and Spencer's, for example, 7,000. This isn't like 7 or 70 or 700. 7,000 jobs are going to go. That's just one company. The ripple effect of that in the economy is very, very clear. When you have people who are unemployed, What don't they have a lot of? They don't have a lot of what? Disposable income. Therefore, can they go out and shop a lot? No, they can't. So the businesses are going to suffer. Well, the businesses are already suffering because of COVID. So now you have a double effect, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, obviously, we don't know when that is going to happen, but it could be if Biden wins the election. That could be the start of a real panic, and then heaven knows what is going to happen. And remember this, very, very important. We are focusing on the US market because it is the most volatile. We like that. We love that volatility in general. But also it's the largest market with the most choice. And that's why we love the US market. But there's a famous saying that says, when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Okay? So this could be the start of a global kind of crash in the markets, and then a bear market, because remember in March we did have a crash, but then immediately went back up again. And I mean, we made so much money, it was absolutely fantastic. So I'm hoping it's going to happen again. I mean, I'm not hoping in the sense that I don't want anybody to lose money, but people with a strategy and no rules know how to make money in that. I'm talking about something more fundamental. I'm talking about finally, what is it? The hens coming home to roost or something, where finally, there has to be a reset of the financial system. Now, without giving too much away, we actually are talking to family offices who say that they know what's going on, and they actually think that there are, in the background, movements to reset the entire financial system. And when that happens, it isn't going to be good for the markets. And they're saying it's going to happen any week now. I don't believe that, because the election hasn't happened yet, and Trump will do everything he can to stop the US market from crashing before the election. So just logically, I don't think that the markets are going to crash before there is the election. However, on the other side, if the Democrats can do something behind the scenes to make it crash, Biden will win. The other thing that might be interesting for you to know in the markets is that clearly, as we know, things out there are not going well, and yet the markets are continuing up. Now, when I say the markets, not individual stocks, because the markets are generally made up. So, for example, the Nasdaq top 100, 25% of those are made up of just a few companies. Companies like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, those big tech companies. So yes, they are going up massively, Square, Nvidia, etc., but the old school companies are not doing very well at all, and a lot of them could go down to minus 60%, minus 70%. Some people are even saying minus 80% of their current net worth, because we have been in a large bull market since 2008. So it's way too high right now, and those tech stocks are pushing it even higher, but the others are suffering really, really badly because they don't have any customers because of COVID, and they're going down like now. So you've got a dichotomy between what's really happening in the market and the stock market. And once people start noticing that, there's going to be trouble. So what could you do either way, no matter who wins or what's happening in the market, is to diversify and make sure, not over diversify, don't buy 100 different stocks, but actually diversify out of stocks. So for example, you could buy some gold, either physical or an ETF. Yes, that means you're in the market, but it's still gold, it's not a stock, or silver. You could buy miners, or you could buy ETFs of several miners together, or junior miners if you want to take on a little bit more risk, and you can do the same with silver. The other thing that I'm doing, and I've just loaded up again on it, is to do something called an inverse ETF of, let's say, the FTSE 250 or the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones. What does that mean? You buy this ETF, an inverse ETF, which if the market goes down, guess what happens to the ETF? It goes up, because it's an inverse ETF. So you don't need to sell short, which obviously you could do as well, but you could just buy an ETF like that. If you do that, make sure it's a ×1 ETF, meaning there is no leverage on that. You don't want, I know it sounds good, if this goes down a little bit, this goes up twice as much, but if it doesn't, the problem is you're going to be losing twice the amount of money as well. Okay, so there's some things that you can do. One more thing, of course, is make sure you have a position in any kind of cryptocurrencies or blockchain technology that's out there as well, because that's something that is growing. And if you really want to stay in the markets. Make sure that you really focus not on old school. Don't focus on things like banks and things like that. Focus on artificial intelligence. Focus on the Internet of Things. Focus on the industries that are growing, like cryptos, decentralized finance, anything where you know that it's the trend of the future. Stay away from the old stuff, because those chickens are coming home to roost. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Trump's going to win? Do you think it's Biden? And what is that going to do to the stock market? Why don't you comment below now and let's get a debate going so that you're ready when it comes to the November elections. And don't forget also, hit that subscribe button so that you can see videos like this in the future.